Well, they finally did it. They finally decided to nerf storm grenades to a point where they'll still be good, but they're not going to be the best at basically what they used to do, which has me very excited. Because for a very long time, I wanted to make a particular build that would counter these storm grenades, and now I can. So we're going to look at a Arc Titan build today that is going to help round out whatever build you're looking for your Titans, and maybe even swap over to this particular grenade. But first, a word from our sponsors. For this particular build, we're going to take a look at the exotic chestplate Armamentarium, which comes with the exotic perk and another thing, which just gain an additional grenade charge. This is extremely simple and effective exotic, as it simply just gives you an extra grenade, and it can be any grenade on any subclass, whether it be stasis, solar, or void. But today we're going to look at the arc subclass with the pulse grenades, because I like pulse grenades. Playing on other classes in the past, I've always been like, man, I wish my hunter had pulse grenades, or man, I wish my warlock had pulse grenades. So I've always had a very strong affinity towards pulse grenades. So I'm very excited to make this build. So let's go over the class setup we're going to use to really help our pulse grenades do what they need to do, and maybe even be better than storm grenades. Knockout is going to be our first aspect. Critically wounding a target or breaking their shield infuses your melee attacks with arc energy and increases your melee range and damage for a short time. Defeating targets with melee attack starts health regeneration and makes you amplified. This aspect is used to give us more fragment slots, as well as giving us a way to start our health regeneration if we desperately need it, as giving us a way to easily become amplified, which is going to be very helpful when we talk about some of the fragments we're going to look at here in just a moment. The second aspect we're going to look at is Touch of Thunder. Your flashbang, pulse, lightning, and storm grenades have enhanced functionality, and specifically for our pulse grenades, it's going to create ionic traces periodically as it damages targets and increases the damage over time. This will make our pulse grenades very strong, as they will increase the damage over time. I don't have the numbers for that. I tried really hard, but it's kind of hard because enemies will walk in and out of the pulse grenade and your numbers will be just a little weird. But they'll also give us a lot of energy back from just making the ionic traces, which will give us more grenades to throw for more damage, for more ionic traces, and you can end up throwing a lot of grenades. I ran this build in the Scarlet Keep Grandmaster literally as the day I'm recording this particular voiceover, and when we got to Hash Ladoon, I had like 3 or 4 pulse grenades on her because I just kept getting energy back from the ionic traces, which is going to be great come Lightfall because our ionic traces are going to count as elemental wells like our stasis shards do currently, from what I was reading in their build crafting evolved blog post they made. But now that we've gone over the aspects, let's go over the fragments that are really going to help this build along with our aspects. The first thing we're going to look at is Spark of Beacons. While you're amplified, your arc special weapon final blows create a blinding explosion. With this build, we can become amplified very easily between our melee and the amount of arc damage we are putting out. The special weapon I'm pairing with this build is going to be Salvager's Salvo. It is the vendor weapon from Season of the Chosen. It has Demolitionist, which plays a huge part into this build because our build is very heavily grenade based, and it also has Chain Reaction, which can cause more blinding effects due to the way that Chain Reaction works and the way Spark of Beacon can function with it. Now, to get this weapon, you simply have to go to the Archive of Lost Memories, or whatever it's called, in the tower and buy it. Another very good option here is Forbearance from the Vow of the Disciple raid with Ambitious Assassin and Chain Reactions. Both of those are very, very good special weapons you can work with this particular build. The next thing we're going to look at is Spark of Magnitude. Your lingering arc grenades, lightning grenade, pulse grenade, and storm grenade have extended duration. This will simply allow our pulse grenades to stick around a little longer after being thrown, giving us more ionic traces and having the opportunity to have a little more damage output at the same time. Spark of Discharge. Arc weapon final blows have a chance to create ionic trace with a -10 to strength. Since Salvager's Salvo is an arc weapon, we'll be able to make ionic traces with it and its chain reactions to get more ability, energy back all the time, paired with our pulse grenade. And finally, we have Spark of Resistance. While surrounded by combatants, you are more resistant to incoming damage with a +10 to strength. This fragment is a no-brainer. Extra resistance is always nice to have at any time, especially paired with our max tier resilience bonus. Spark of Resilience has saved my life more times than I care to count. So, with our class setup gone over, let's go over the armor mods that I paired with this particular build. Now, before we get too deep into the armor mods, I'd like to make a note that this is all obviously done pre-Lightfall, so some of these mods post-Lightfall may fall out of this build or be moved around because they said that they're going to be changing a lot of the mods where they go. They're removing the elemental affinity part of this, so where these mods will fall post Lightfall is going to be iffy. Within the next year, I will update this build to go with the post Lightfall build crafting and whatnot. Right now, I have 3 videos that I'm going to post just before Lightfall. They're going to be like, hey, these are the builds that I'm going to use post-Lightfall campaign while dealing with champions and all that stuff, because we have a lot of subclass changes. Right now, it's a Solar Warlock, a Stasis Hunter, and I think I'm going to go with a Void Titan as well, but that's for a later date. Let's focus on these mods right here. For my helmet, I'm running Ashes to Assets. With this mod, we'll be getting anywhere from 2% to 13% of our grenade back, depending on which enemies we defeat. Now, that doesn't seem like a lot, but if a group of thralls run into your grenade, you can easily get up to 15% of your super back for them just walking into it, and it adds up very quickly. It is a nice little thing to add to get your super back really quick. We are also going to use Harmonic Siphon, just going to be used to make more orbs of power. I personally like having the extra orbs, but you can change this out if you feel otherwise, because our Salvager Salvo is going to be making a lot of orbs for us with its chain reaction. And finally, we're going to run Explosive Wellmaker. This will allow our pulse grenades and our grenade launchers and rocket launchers, or anything that you're running that has an explosive based perk, make solar wells, which is going to be very nice for the rest of the mods that are in this particular build. For our arms, we're going to run Bolstering Detonation. This mod will allow us to get our class ability back much faster. When causing damage with our grenade, we'll get roughly 25% of our grenade back. Now, this does have a cooldown of 7 seconds, so you'll have to wait a bit for it to go off again, but we're still going to get our class ability back a lot faster. And then, of course, we're going to be running Elemental Charge. When making those solar wells I mentioned earlier, we're going to get 1 stack of Charge with Light to spend however we want. And for our chest plate, we have 2 options. We have Firepower. This one is obvious if you want to reduce the time between your grenades by spending your Charge with Light and giving yourself some energy back, or Heal Thyself. If you want your grenades to give you a little bit of support while they do their thing, this is a great option. When charged with Light, getting a grenade kill will spend that stack and heal you by 25%, which is very nice. I played with both of these, and they're both fantastic for this build. I actually accidentally ran my Heal Thyself version of this build, which was amazing. Getting weakened by things and having the thralls run at me to heal me and spend my stack of Charge with Light to make another stack with Charge with Light was just, it worked out so well, and I'm glad I accidentally left that mod in over Firepower. As for our legs, we're going to be running Innervation, simply to get back grenade energy back when picking up an orb, and Salvager Salvo is going to be making a fair bit of orbs. We're also going to run Well of Ordnance. This mod is the reason for the solar wells. With this, we can top off any remaining grenade energy that we have left and be able to throw as many as we are able to increase the potential damage, as well as increase the ionic traces that we're getting back. And finally, for our mark, we're going to run Bomber, which is every time we use our class ability, we get some grenade energy back, which is going to be great because with Bolstering Detonation, we're going to get our class ability energy back for using grenades. So with Bolstering Detonation giving us class ability energy back for our grenades, and our class ability giving us grenade energy back, it's a very nice cycle that we can just do. Throw grenade, dodge, throw grenade, dodge, because I'm using the thruster for this. Obviously, if you want to use the barricade, you absolutely can. And the final thing that we put on this is Bountiful Wells. Since the solar wells we are making will only give us 1 stack of Charge with Light, we need to make 2 wells so we can have 2 stacks of Charge with Light. But be careful, as sometimes it can be a little picky. There is an internal cooldown for picking up wells for stacks of light conversion, so sometimes if you pick them up too fast, they will only count as 1, and then sometimes there will be no cooldown, like it'll just skip it and you can get 2. There are many times when running either in the Grandmaster that I ran or testing this build that I would either just get 1 or 2 right out the gate. It was very confusing, but sometimes they'll give you 1, sometimes they'll give you 2. Keep that in mind and you should be fine with this build. And with that, with a slightly quicker video, that is the end of the build. Now, I'd like to take this time really quickly to thank everyone who has supported me so far up until now, and I'm going to be very excited to keep making builds past Lightfall due to all the changes they're making. I have a lot of really good ideas ever since reading their blog posts, and I'm very excited to share them with you guys once I can actually get them made in-game and get them out to you in a video as soon as I can, because other than my friend Banana, who's always in the comments making thumbnails for me, I don't really have anybody else to help. It's just me. I edit, I record, I do all of it. So of course him helping me with that is a huge lifesaver, and quite frankly his thumbnails are better than mine, even though he'll deny it. But with all that, I just want to say thank you to everybody who comments, subscribes, likes, all that good stuff, and I hope to keep this going and keep seeing you guys into Lightfall. So with that, I hope everybody has a good week.